Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Final Whistle with myself, Sanani Mangisa. Right now, if you're advocate Darlene Bofu, everyone wants your number. How he got Kagiso Rabada off that charge is amazing. I think there's a few athletes around the world who probably been charged for doping that are looking for his number. We'll dive into a bit of that later on in the show, and we'll touch on some rugby and some football. Join in the conversation, hashtag Beyond the Final Whistle and tag Grit Sports. No strangers to the show, guys. Welcome back again.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to hit a bit on football. I'd like to say that the team sometimes is a reflection of the administration. And I think you know who I'm talking about. And the big elephant in the room is Safa. Yeah. This week, Rulani was the assistant coach. He was joining the assistant coaching team. He wasn't. He's part of the academy. He's not. Pirates have said no. And we're going to see this pan out when the team starts playing. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a reflection of everything that's happening at SAFA at the moment. What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are you do not announce something and not make it happen.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to announce it publicly, make sure that it happens. Even if you hadn't spoken to Pirates before you announce it, you make sure whatever you need to do, he gets onto that plane and is with the team. I think they made a huge error. And it's very unprofessional, really, and it reflects badly on the administration of the South African Football Association.
Also, I think for me, it was a matter of timing. It was poor timing, and I think the initiative and the plan is a very good one.
It's a coach's academy, which is a good plan.
It's a really good thought, and you really want to see it happen. I think Rulani is one of the, if not the top young coaches in our game right now. But I think the planning was a little bit off, especially in context where Orlando Pirates are actually challenging for the league title now. Yeah. They're only 1 point adrift of Mamelodi Sundowns at the top. So for Pirates to release an important cog in their campaign to go off for a weekend in Zambia, I don't think it's something that Mitro or Ivan Koza wants in their quest for the league title. So it speaks a lot to SAFA and how they go about their planning and how they go about communicating amongst the PSL clubs. I mean, there's always been a very poor sort of history between the governing
body and the clubs.
The relationship between the governing body and the clubs has never been really strong, and whether that's releasing players, whether it's getting some sort of action going from both parties. So it's actually a really bitter pill to swallow for everybody.
Yeah. And speaking of the association, I think it's where they're at the moment. Is the Congress happening? Is not? Are they having elections? Are they not? It's just, I think, a general shambles all around, and a lot of people are calling for new senior leadership to lead the new way.
I think it is about time. The people that have been at SAFA have been there for many years, and it's the same rotating problems year on year. And I think it's time that they get new people in there that will inject innovation, creativity, a different way of doing things. I think we're still stuck in a certain age. And we need to move on and be more effective. Yeah.
It's a bit outdated. Like as Katla was saying, it's outdated the way that they go about things. I mean, Danny Jordan has been president for I think for as long as I've been alive. So it really is time for new faces. And I think that even Ace Ngobo himself, his plight is to get new leadership in, and he's probably going about it the wrong way. That's also pretty debatable, but I think his objective and his plight to get new fresh faces into the leadership of SAFA is a very good one. And whether the Congress is going on this Saturday or not, it still
no one knows.
It still remains up in smoke. So we'll see.
And I think it doesn't take away from all the great work that they've done over the years, but we all know that they could have done a lot more. So we're all asking for that a lot more phase.
Okay.
Let's
take it abroad a bit. Champions League final, last few rounds decided. How do you see that draw? It was an interesting draw. Everyone obviously was avoiding certain teams, but at the end of the day, if you're Barca, Real Madrid, if you want to win the title, you're going to have to play one of those teams, and beat them.
You obviously wanted to avoid the big fishes. I think Real and Juve have met at this stage for the past 3 seasons now. So it's mouth-watering encounters, and that's what you want to see as a football fan. You want to see the best playing the best.
Yeah.
Whether Real are playing Barca in the quarters or Barca's playing Juventus, it's one of those things that attracts people, attracts audiences across the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes for interesting reading. I mean, as a Chelsea fan, I would have still wanted them to be in the competition, but it's one of those things. You have one person that actually really shows up on a certain day. Lionel Messi's record against Chelsea has never been good, but once he started scoring, you can't
stop him. He hadn't scored against Chelsea for years, and there was one record Chelsea were holding on to. One of the best players in the world hadn't scored, but I think once the gates opened, it was tickets. Floodgates are going to open now.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of international football, we see the international break now. Does that for the leagues? Does that sort of deviate the focus? Or I know we've got FA Cup coming up, we've got the Champions League. In preparation for the World Cup, is this like international teams starting to play around with their formations, or are they going to keep it quiet for now and just go through the friendly games that they have?
I think international breaks are always a good idea for me. I think players need different perspectives, and they come back with renewed views or perspectives, which is great for the game. So I think it's always a great idea for the game and for the players. So yeah.
So if you take a player like Morata, and we'll dive into this, he's not included in the Spanish setup now.
Yeah.
Would you start worrying as a player when you're a couple of months out from a World Cup and you're not being included?
I think you do, because I think this is the most crucial part now in terms of final preparations ahead of the World Cup. There's not a lot of games in between, international games between now and the start of the World Cup. So you start to worry a bit when you're not in the coach's plans. But the World Cup and the international break does give, as Katlego said, it gives you perspective. It gives you renewed energy, and you want to do well. You want to improve on yourself and impress your national team coach. But it also sort of a crucial stage, because you don't want to get injured
for sure.
This close out of the World Cup. So a lot of players, I think, will be wrapping themselves up in cotton wool.
Yeah.
So
Harry Kane is a bit of a worry that game he came.
Neymar is racing. Has a race against fitness to be fit for the World Cup for Brazil. So, and that's a crucial player for them. So it's going to be very interesting now, from now on, heading into the World Cup.
But your thoughts on Man United got kicked out of the Champions League? Let's take it back there, and I'd like to take a little bit of a dig.
Are we skipping Chelsea, right?
Chelsea's odds were against them, so I'll keep quiet about that. But there's a certain red team from up north that did not make it, and I can't say I'm not smiling about it.
I know many people that are smiling about it and many that are not. It happens. These things happen, and I think we need to welcome teams that are normally into next rounds that don't make it and are knocked out. I think it's good for the game, and
I think more interesting was Jose Mourinho's comments afterwards. I think those were what shocked everyone.
Yeah, everyone was
I think his thoughts are, you obviously want to be on the defensive. You don't want to seem like you lost on purpose. But this is uncommon for United. I think for the past sort of 5 years now, they've really struggled.
Gone to the semis
and they haven't kicked on and won the Champions League. So it's crucial for them. It's crucial for them to actually start getting into a mentality where they prioritize certain competitions, and the Champions League is one of them. It's a big tournament. It's a big tournament, and everybody wants to win it. So for Mourinho to say that, United were knocked out.
Yeah, they're not. It's not the first time.
It's not the first time, so it's not good. And you want clubs like that, big clubs like that, to be winning. It can't be Real winning the UEFA all the time. So you want to give them a break.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here. FA Cup winners?
Chelsea.
Nice and simple.
No comment.
Champions League winners?
Madrid.
Over Barca?
Madrid.
Yeah, I think
Madrid.
I'll always also go with Madrid just because
No, Madrid.
personal reasons. I'll always go with Madrid.
CR7, personal reason. Okay.
I think their form in the competition in the past 4 years has to always warrant them to be favourites all the time, to win the tournament. Barca are in really good hot form, so they're huge contenders as well. As are Juve. I mean, Juve, they've got the pedigree, they've got the talent, they've got the experience. They've got the experience to be there. So maybe the dark horse could be Sevilla. We never know.
See how they do.
Spanish teams have a knack of really kicking on in European conditions.
As further they go, they get comfortable.
So it's going to be an interesting one, but Real Madrid for me.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the picks. Katlego and Pila have made the Champions League and FA Cup final picks. We'll have to see towards the end of the season. Young Kagiso Rabada is playing the third test. That's all that matters. He's got off the hook. Thank you, Darlene Bofu. Guys, I think the sideshow, I think Dean Elgar mentioned it in the week, that they actually just want to play now.
Yeah.
Like, there's the sideshows, and it's been taken away from, actually, we've got a test match, a third test match that is quite exciting because it's 1-1 at the moment.
It's a crucial test match from the context of the series where it is now. And I think Dean Elgar is right in saying that they need to shut down the noise, the background noise around the whole Rabada incident, the David Warner incidents, all the side shows, the Steve Smith incident. So, and it's going to be a really good test match. I think that both sides are still very evenly matched.
Yeah.
They're very evenly matched sides, and this test match can go either way. So it's really important for everybody to just focus on the cricketing action on the field, and sort of forget about the little sideshows on the other side.
At what point do the ICC need to look at themselves? Because had it not been for their rules that we could question, you don't have to go to a second disciplinary hearing and appeal it. And I mean, Advocate Darlene Bofu doesn't come cheap. David Becker doesn't come cheap, and he was also part of the team. He's one of the country's most respected sports lawyers. So my question is, we didn't need to get there if the ICC correct their house. Yeah. So at what point are they going to do a review of the system? And do demerit system stay with you for how long?
A period of 24 months, actually. So
that's why Rabada got into trouble for those.
Yeah, so Rabada's now he's accumulated 7 demerit points because of the hearing. The other points have been taken away. The 2 points that he accumulated for that 2-match suspension. So it's going to hover over his head right up until the World Cup. So, and you're right. I think the ICC needs to sort of rectify some of the laws that it has in its book. And I think one of those things is that the on-field umpires need to take better responsibility of what happens on the field. If let's say a guy like Chris Broad or somebody out on the field says that so and so have transgressed a specific law in the book, they need to further interpret it better in terms of for the match referee to actually make a correct call.
Okay.
And it's important. It's costing a lot of teams valuable wins and to progress in certain competitions.
So
and take the Bangladesh and Sri Lanka incidents for example. Shakib Al Hassan was probably, vindicated in his demonstration of an umpiring decision. But to take it that far was not in the spirit of the game. To trash a dressing room, to demand his players to come off the field is not.
And then you start asking ICC at what levels, because there's the David Warner one, there's Yes Kagiso on the field.
Yeah.
So it feels like the playbook is not. It's blurry.
Yep.
The playbook is very blurry.
There's so many discrepancies and disparities in how the ICC itself implement the laws. I mean, if you're going to trash a changing room, surely that's a far punishable offense than brushing somebody's shoulder. And also Marlon Samuels yesterday got one demerit point for hitting the 30-yard marker. I mean, that's
Now you've got that demerit point, and that was a petty.
Exactly, it's a petty crime. The guy is disappointed not to see his side over the line personally. And when he went out on 86, so it's one of those things that the ICC is actually taking the emotional, the human side away from the game. And you want to see those things. You want to see a fired up Kagiso. You want to see somebody disappointed that they couldn't get their side over the line in a crucial game, in a World Cup qualifier game. So it's one of those things that the ICC needs to take a look inside and say, look, are we interpreting the laws the way that we should be?
Right, ladies and gentlemen, all I care about right now is that Kagiso is playing, and with the series at 1-1, we're in for a very exciting third test match. At the beginning of this week, I shared a bit of a personal experience I had been through. Since retiring from international hockey, I found myself in a space where a lot of athletes find themselves mentally. We're never quite prepared for the transition that we do from international sports to the what we call post-life after your international sport. So a lot of the time we prep for the financial being. Make sure you save up, make sure you're making the right investments, and make sure that we've got a career to fall back on. But no one really preps you for the mental part of it. So guys, I shared that piece, and then I think the point where I was trying to share it from is that the next generation of athletes that retire after me should not have to go through that. I think mental wellness and mental health is quite an important topic at the time, and we need to, a lot of the agents, managers that look after athletes go, make sure you're investing right. Make sure your career after your sport is looked after. And I don't think enough talk about the mental side of it, because you go from something that you know well,
every day
your routine, to literally stopping. You need a new goal. All of a sudden, the reason you go to gym is not there anymore. And I mean, we've seen it in our local football guys. They a lot of them die, and you go, but this guy was making millions during his career. And it's sort of a combination. I think that and the mental part that comes with it. I think you guys can share a bit of your experiences that you've seen around South African sports people.
I think for me that there's not enough education around retiring. If we could invest in sort of educating our professional athletes on the mental sides firstly, I think it's very important to have a healthy mind while playing and a healthy mind off the field. Because a lot of the focus is on training, how to get your technique right. If you're specific sports, how to make runs, how to hit a ball, how to save, how to kick a ball. So all your energy is always focused on the technical side and how to prepare yourself for a match. But you never really get time to sort of unwind and think about other things.
Understand the other things that come with it.
That come with the sport and just normal life. And it's important to have education around that. And I think we've seen it in the past where players like Junior Kanye. We've seen it with players like Steve Lekoleo. We've seen it with guys like Jabu Pule, who've sort of gone off went off the bandwagon a little bit, and nobody really understood why.
Yeah, I think Pila, you hit it on the nail on the head there. No one understands because for years you've had it. You've seen the international stage. You played You've had the cars. So no one understands all of a sudden when you're not in a good space, or everyone's going, but you're fine. You played international sports. You're quite tough.
I think that's the perspective I took after reading your article. Is going into the sports, you already know, or once you become professional, you know that your career, you were lucky for it to last 10 years. And most people, it lasts 3-4 years and the career is done. So for me, it was from the perspective of, it's not going to be long lived, so why do you not plan for when you do retire? I guess it's not that easy, but looking from outside, it's like that you've got 4 or 5 years to plan for the rest of your life, so utilize and capitalize that time as much as you can. So I think throwing it back to you, before you retired, you knew you were going to retire. How did you prepare your mindset for the afterlife?
I think you get caught up in it. I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on the athletes, but you get caught up in, because you're getting caught up in tours. The checks coming in if you're earning on a big scale. Look, hockey's a Cinderella sport, but you're getting caught up in that life sometimes if you don't have the right people around you, the tunnel vision is there, because you're just going to focus on the now. Let me get through this tournament. Let me making sure I'm going to this World Cup. And all of a sudden, the years roll by, you're 28, you're going, shucks, I'm now 28 and I've got a few more years in this team. And then you start thinking about it. But I think on the mental side, no one helps you to understand that when it comes to an end, you have to have, for me, goals and dreams outside of that, because that then shifts your focus. Because a lot of us just go, okay, we stop, and then all of a sudden you don't have a training plan, or you're going to gym. Yes, you're going to gym, but you used to work. Yeah, what's the purpose? You used to work towards fitness tests, and you knew every second week was a fitness test. So you used to work towards that. All of a sudden, that's not there anymore, and you need to find. I took up running. So doing a half marathon here, or you do a triathlon here, you need to find, a fitness space, but also just career-wise goals, and to understand that I need to shift the mental space and walk away when you're ready. I think that's another thing.
Sanani, how important is the role of mental coaches in sport in general, not just hockey, where you have experience in, but mental coaches across the board, whether it's cricket, rugby, soccer, tennis? How important is a person to come in and sit down with you, and you just like sort of offloading and speaking about something that is not even related to the sport, about what your favorite color is?
I can't emphasize just how important they are, because as international athletes, you find yourself where the pressure's on. The pressure is always on. Someone's like, there's pressure. Like journalists always ask coaches, "There's a pressure in this game." The pressure is always on, regardless. You're under pressure at a training session to prove yourself, because now there's 20 of you in the squad and only 11 are starting on Saturday. You're under pressure when the team selections come. You're under pressure when there's a full stadium and the cameras are on. So to be able to go, okay, I'm going to take myself outside of that pressure and just understand different things, do different things, and understand where you get your motivation from. Because it's easy to the demons to start kicking in when you go out for a duck, or you concede a goal, I'm not good enough. So all those self-doubts and start creeping in. And if you don't have the right mental toughness, and mentality, all those words you use around sport, it is going to get very dark, and the more you try to crawl out of that darkness, and the darker it just gets. So the role of mental coaches is quite important in sport.
I read your what you shared on Great Sports. What was you said that the first 9 months were probably the worst you've ever had in your life. What did you find the most difficult to transit from professional life to just normal everyday life?
I think it was a combination of stuff. One, obviously, as I said, you don't have. Let's say I knew in June I had a tournament. That's what we were working towards. The emails used to come in, girls, this is what we're doing at this time, this is this camp. So that went away. Now all of a sudden the mates and the teammates and the goals and the dreams you shared together were gone. That also fades away. and also just being in a space of competitive, environment.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I thrive with that. I'm a very competitive person, so I've took myself. I mean, a normal 2v2 is competition for me at camp, because you will not lose a 2v2. So you go from that space to just navigating life, and then all of a sudden, when also socially, social, because you walk into a room now, let's say it's a room of non-athletes or no one knows you, and then all of a sudden, not that everyone knows you in every room you walk in, but you knew the spaces that you navigated when you played hockey. All of a sudden, I shared that part where my gym card got declined. That's on a small scale. So take a rugby player who has his contract cancelled and then his car endorsement taken away, and those kind of things. Now all of a sudden you're paying insurance and you've never paid insurance in your life. You're paying an installment and you've never paid it. Those kind of things come into play, and that's how sometimes you find other athletes coming out of retirement, because the perks are being thrown at them again, and go, listen, if I come out of retirement, I might get a car, I might get my installment paid for, I might get a fully furnished house. Of course I'm going to get out of retirement. So it's those kind of things that started playing in those 9 months, and I think just not having motivation to train. That was one of the biggest things for me, is that I didn't have motivation to train.
I have a question for you. What was the last push, or that thing that told you that now it's time? I need to retire. I'm done with this life, and I'm ready to start a new life.
I think I just started dreading training. I started dreading being away from home, and I think I did say to myself once when I was younger, the moment it starts becoming a chore, then I'm out. And also then you start consulting a lot of people, so you don't retire in a week. So I think mine was about 4 or 5 months coming. So you start asking certain people who have retired already, what's the feeling, and no one had the same advice. Besides, you will know. Everyone was like, okay, everyone had that same advice, that I would know when it was time to retire. But I think the last part is when your heart is just not into it anymore, then it's time to go. Right, I think I've been put in the hot seat there for a little bit. We'll wrap it up there. Ladies and gentlemen, join in the conversation and be sure to hashtag beyond the final whistle and tag @GritSport. Let us know what you like and you don't like, and join in on the conversation, comment, and throw a bit of banter around.